Okay, so Andreas, if you had to start learning Chinese all over again, where would you start?
That's a very good question. Well, I mean, first, what level are you currently in Mandarin?
Okay, this is a good question. I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm around HSK 5. That's what my teachers tell me, but I haven't actually taken the test and I'm not using HSK books, but I think I'm around there. How about you?
Cool. Well, Chinese is my main work language, so I speak it at work most of the time. I read and write in it, so yeah.
Better than me.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, that's most of my discussion. We speak to teachers and contracts and stuff like that is Mandarin. So I'm an HSK examiner.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did that a while ago back in Beijing. So yeah, I think I'm all right. Not perfect though.
Enough to judge others though, which is pretty good.
I try not to judge. I think that will be the aim.
Well, I would stop treating HSK books like the Bible. So in my mind, HSK was like the script for Chinese. And if I learned a conversation about buying milk and I went out to buy milk and people went off script and I didn't understand, in my head, that's because I just didn't know HSK well enough. So I would go back to HSK, study that over and over and over. But actually, I think by limiting myself to just one textbook and not diversifying the learning materials and not hearing the same language in different ways, I was actually really limiting myself. So I think for me, if I started over, I would start speaking to people a lot more. And honestly, I would spend a lot less time writing characters. I spent hours and hours writing the same characters. If they weren't right, writing them again. And then I would remember those characters for maybe a week, and then I'd go back a week later and then have forgotten half of them, spend time relearning those characters. And it helps you understand things like stroke order and stuff, which is important. But you can learn that and then just move on. I think for modern day Chinese, unless writing is one of your goals, then that's fine. But for most people, it doesn't really help you communicate. And most people just type Chinese these days. They don't really need to write calligraphy or anything. So I think for me, if I had spent those hours and hours and hours just speaking to people, I'd probably be way more ahead than I am right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that makes all a lot of sense. I think one thing is, I would definitely also not limit myself. I think learning a language like Chinese is not, there is no one path to salvation. It's basically, you just got to grab everything from where you can get, right? And you just get a word here and a grammar, something here, and just get whatever you can. But I'd say one thing I definitely agree with is handwriting characters. Oh my God. At university, it was in Beijing, and we just handwrite just pages and pages and pages of it. And it's such a waste of time. And it's like, I mean, first you can learn much better through radicals already, like instead of just handwriting, like you're basically trying to you're not trying to memorize it with your brain, you memorize it with your hand.
Yeah.
Like you're getting your hand, my hand isn't that clever, I think. It just doesn't work very well. I mean, you can, but it takes years. So I definitely would leave that away, completely agree. The other thing for me is definitely, I'd focus on tones at the beginning. That's one mistake I made, is like, I thought, oh my God, you have characters and new vocab and the grammar and it's all new and wow. And like the tones are right, that sounds really strange. I'll leave that until a little bit later.
That's not important.
Yeah, but that's what I thought. And you have some people tell you, the tones, the Chinese don't even pay much attention to that stuff. Rubbish.
They do.
They are super important. So I would have learned the tones at the beginning. I mean, I did a little bit, the course taught it a little bit, but I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. So I would really pay a lot of attention to tones at the beginning and get it right at the beginning. It was like, I learned it first basically wrong and then had to relearn it, and I wasted so much time and it was horrible. So definitely tones first. Secondly, completely agree, I would speak immediately from the first word, like if I learn how to say, I don't know, pajama, then I'm gonna say pajama to everyone, every single
Everyone's
person.
talking about pajamas.
I'm just like, why are you wearing a pajama? Oh, I'm not wearing a pajama. All right, 2 sentences said already. Something like that. So I'd use every single word I can. I would definitely not handwrite. I would just completely scrap that. I would learn a lot more through radicals, like learning characters by radicals, grouping them by radicals, and just instead of trying to remember this huge picture, like deconstructing it into little pieces. And that, well, at the beginning it doesn't help you much because you don't know many radicals yet, but if you keep doing that, and like after 200, 300, 400 characters, then everything gets a lot easier. So be definitely speaking a lot, no handwriting, tones from the beginning, and definitely immersion, like getting out of the expat English bubble. Like English is the enemy. just gotta get rid of English.
Two things I really resonate there. The first being tones. A lot of people I know who've learned Chinese by themselves, they have this incredible knowledge of written Chinese and they can tell you 500 Chengyus, which is really cool and really great, but they can't have a conversation and their tones are way out of whack. And I think you need that foundation. And for me, I started with a one-on-one tutor and she would drill me. My tones were terrible. And I used to almost find it annoying. I was like, it can't matter that much, but it does. And now I'm so relieved I spent that time in the beginning getting it right. Because if you get to HSK 3 or 4, it's so hard to go back and like, you're basically having to relearn every word that you've learned because you're probably saying most of them wrong. Yeah. And that can take so much time. And the second thing was the immersion, because I realized I was spending a lot of time speaking Chinese to other Chinese students, which is really useful as well because you're at the same level. But it's much slower and much more simple and you all know the same things. So then when you go out into the real world, everything is way quicker and it's way harder to comprehend, and then it's just easier to go back into that foreigner bubble. But you do have to push yourself, and it's okay to be embarrassed and it's okay to not know what's going on.
Put my phone into Chinese straight from the beginning. Only text messaging, only in Mandarin. Don't speak English to anyone.
Is that possible?
Well, I mean, you just get wrong food in the restaurant all the time. I mean, your life kind of collapses, but your Mandarin improves, right? So you know, that's fine. Like you need to be able to be embarrassed and just like make a fool out of yourself and have everything go wrong. But that's how you get forward. So basically, yeah, not give a shit. Change my phone into Mandarin. I think that'd be the two habits.
I think I kind of touched on this just now, but I would 100% diversify the materials. So something that was really helpful for me after I found them, guided readers, because they're adapted to your level. And you can see the same language being used over and over in different ways, and that's really helpful. And watching and listening to simple TV programs, there's no shame in watching Peppa Pig. It really helps the listening. You gotta start somewhere. I watched it for a few hours, it helps, okay.
On all of it together, one mistake that I've seen a lot of people make is they only want us to do speaking and listening, and they say, I don't need reading and writing. And that is fine if you want to learn only beginner Mandarin. But if you want to become fluent, you're going to need characters. Not handwriting, but you need to be able to read them. And it is much easier to learn characters while you learn the words. Together, you will learn it overall faster than if you first learn all the speaking and reading, and then later you go back and have to start with all the characters again. So learning it together is a good thing. So reading, listening, speaking together. Writing, just don't worry about it.
Writing, there's nothing wrong with writing, guys. We're being very harsh on writing, but for me, I would say listening. And that's because I really think speaking is practice, but listening is learning. And I think you need to just be listening all the time. And I think as far as skills go, if you can speak loads or speak really well, it's a great party trick and it looks really cool, but ultimately listening is more important. Listening is what's going to help you navigate the world around you and understand the world around you. You can go to the bank and all you need to say is like, yes, no, okay, got it, and show them what you need to do. But you're going to need to understand what they're saying to you to actually be able to get anywhere. So I really think listening is really important.
All right, guys, so this was, if you had to learn Mandarin all over again, what you would do. I was not invited to this. I don't know why. I speak amazing Mandarin, no one trusts me, and I was not invited to this video. So I'm gonna end this video right here, and I'm gonna edit this video in a very bad way. Why are you speaking Japanese to me? I said Mandarin, Hannah. You need to take some classes.
Sorry, I'll start over. Okay, but okay.